inside.
This is Roland Crump, who for the
How do you do?
project here is sort of acting as the interior decorator of a house of what do we call it?
Museum of the Weird.
Museum of the Weird. Will you tell her about some of these things?
These are going to be collected from all over the world, supposedly, and we're going to have man-eating plants, and we're going to have a coffin clock here that we're working on right now. We have a gypsy cart that comes to life with ghosts inside of it. We have a candle man. These are just things that are collected from all over the world, just the weirdest things we could find.
Yeah, we're also collecting real ghosts to bring in. You believe in ghosts, don't you, June?
No.
You don't?
Not really.
Well, let me take you over here and convince you that they do exist.
We had two schools of thought on the Haunted Mansion. One was to make it scary, and one was to make it funny. And so finally we decided it should be light and not real scary. And the lyrics kind of pushed me in that direction of grim grinning ghosts come out to social life.
As the moon climbs high over the dead oak tree,
Spooks arrive for the midnight train.
creepy creeps with eerie eyes.
Start to shriek and harm all night.
Grim grinning ghosts come out to socialize. When you hear the knell of a
It was a dynamic period of development because this was also the real flowering of audio animatronics at the same time. So there were wonderful people who came out of the machine shop at the studio under Roger Brogy, and they figured out how to make these characters move with all the hydraulics and all the mechanical systems inside them.
Yale Gracie was probably the father of illusions and magic stuff for the Haunted Mansion. He and Wathel Rogers had their own little place over here, and they would do the little magic stuff, and it made it interesting.
Walt told Yale Gracie and Rolly Crump to play, and to them that was magic because playing meant they could do anything they wanted, and within the confines of what the story idea was. And at that time there really wasn't much of a story. It was more, how can you create some effects that would create the illusion of ghosts.
They would get something together, and then we'd get called over and say, okay, here it is. What is it? And we had to figure out how to make it work day in, day out, 24 hours a day, to be able to put it into a show at Disneyland.
My involvement came when we started doing the actual figures for the cemetery, which were based on some of Mark's humorous ideas. The dog at the cemetery, and the raven, and the pop-up heads, which were actually Coates' department.
Awaken the spirits with your tambourine.
Madame Leota was the effect that astonished more people when they went through the ride. And it used to be very interesting to go on the rides or be in the ride and listen to the comments of the guests as they come through, how they thought that was done.
Horned toads and lizards, fiddle and strum. Please answer the roll by beating a drum.
A lot of visitors to the mansion believe that the ghosts in the ballroom are holograms. They are not. It's actually a much older technique called Pepper's Ghost. When the Imagineers were installing the dancers for the ballroom scene, they didn't take into account the mirror reflection. So actually the women are leading the men.
I made a mistake in doing the guys dancing, not realizing that there was an opposite image or a mirror image in there. I have the guy dancing as the way I knew about dancing. When we saw it out there, I said, uh-oh, they're backwards.
The organ in the Haunted Mansion was actually from 20,000 Leagues in Captain Nemo's office, and it was a beautiful setup.
was very difficult for the animators at that time to control the motion of the figures. We didn't have what we call today compliance, where much as I can move my arm and stop it on a dime, that was impossible in those days. If a figure did that, the whole figure would move like this. So they had to create almost a dreamlike catatonic state. And the natural was to have ghosts that are drinking, because it allows for a motion that's a little bit more fluid.
Walt had such an effect on us prior to completing anything. I mean, we thought Walt's thoughts as much as possible.
Walt had the ability to orchestrate, talent. And much like a great orchestra leader, he could bring a bassoon player and a harpist and, a clarinet, all these people that were the greatest in their fields, bring them together and play music.
I go through it with total appreciation for how a team can put a thing over. There's not a one of us that would have a show worth watching if it had been done just by any one of us. It's what everybody did. I'm just happy to have had a part in it.
Hurry back, hurry back.